What's up, y'all? Happy New Year's. It's New Year's, it's a time of reflection, and I thought I would make a quick video about my journey as a painter, an artist, and show kind of my progress through the last 10 plus years, and maybe talk a little bit about the work along the way. So these pieces were when I lived in Portland, Oregon in my 20s, and I moved to Portland to become an engineer. I studied renewable energy engineering, and I only lasted a year. I dropped out. I went on to live kind of a bohemian lifestyle with artists and musicians. I lived on food stamps, which were easy to get in Portland. Here's my housemates at the time, Shannon Wolf and Leviticus Appleton. They are artists as well, and Shannon does tattoos now. You can see their work at Shannon Wolf Tattoo on Instagram. And here's my housemate Leviticus Appleton. Thought he was one of the most talented musicians I've ever known. Just look up Levi Twin or Leviticus Appleton on all the streaming services. This is Dorian Duvall, my housemate at the time, who also is a great musician. Look him up too. In this painting was another housemate of mine and one of my closest friends, Dasha Shleyeva, also a great artist and musician and harpist. You can find her at Dashka Sounds on Instagram. I'll post the links for all of these. This is a poster I did for a band, I think one of the greatest bands of the Northwest ever, and they're called Radiation City, and if you haven't heard them, you gotta check them out. I'm still friends with them. Actually, the singer Lizzie is one of my musical mentors, and she just put out a new album under the moniker E. Ellison, and I'll link that. Cameron Spies is now producer, engineer, and hitmaker of many of the Northwest's finest bands in a band called Night Heron. Randy is in Starfucker, and Patty now plays with the Shins. Basically around this time, I ran out of prospects and money, and I had to go move back to Texas. So I moved to Austin to look for work, but I also tried to do art as well. This one I did in an online class of one of my favorite artists at the time, Mazzoni. I got more into drawing at that time, and these are some drawings of my great-grandparents on my German side. This one I don't really like, but I'll show it anyways. It's an example of the weird stuff that I was getting into at the time, trying to maybe copy Marco Mazzoni and do some weird elements in my drawings. Maybe getting too much influence from Juxtapose. I don't really know the timeline for some of these pieces. All I know is around this time I managed to con my way into a software development job. So that became my focus. I was self-taught at programming, but I was kind of a fraud, so I had to really study up and learn programming, and that took a lot of my time. This just goes to show, if you're an artist or if you're passionate about any skill or hobby, your career is probably going to take a lot of twists and turns. You might go a year without doing that hobby, or even longer. Progress is rarely a straight line. So basically, I worked as a software developer. I got a job at a couple different places. I was an underpaid freelancer for a really long time. And finally, I got a full-time position, and I thought I had made it as a software developer. But the joke was on me because I lasted about 2 years there and I got fired. But I had enough savings, so I thought, I'm gonna finally become a full-time artist. Not. Do people still say that? Well, it was 2016, and one of the silver linings of being fired at the job that I was at was that I met someone who became the model to many of my paintings, Ellen, who is the sister of my coworker. And so this was my first attempt at kind of a traditional painting in the style of the old masters. I remember I posted this on Reddit with a headline something like, "I got fired and now I'm gonna pursue art." And it went to the front page. But still in the comments there were even people saying you're never going to be an artist, this isn't good enough. Well, I got news for that commenter. I got better. So you're always going to have haters, just don't listen to them. So I continued to get better at painting, and I did portraits of a lot of my friends. And I also got into gouache. This is my friend from Germany, Andrea. She was an exchange student in Portland, and I met her there. And she is the subject of the first painting in this video. And she will be the subject of the last painting in this video. Around this time, I heard about the world of ateliers, and I attended a workshop in Florence at Florence Academy of Art, which is one of the best painting schools in the world. Also, a place in Austin opened called Atelier Dojo, and I started attending workshops and classes and life drawing sessions there. These I did at a workshop at Atelier Dojo, taught by Val Mayerik, a comic book artist who did Howard the Duck. I really like doing this 70s kind of style. I also did workshops with the other founders of Atelier Dojo, Karen Offutt, Denise Fulton, and Jennifer Balkan. You can just see that around this time I'm just getting better. There's a clear difference between this and just a couple of years before this, and that's what dedicated practice gets you. Especially if you know what to practice and who to be around. And that's kind of why these ateliers are important. You're just going to learn so much faster if you're in the scene of the art you want to make and you're surrounded by artists you admire. Here's another one of my old housemates from Portland, a great poet, writer, and artist, Michael Harper. I created this portrait for his wedding to his partner, Michaela. And that brings me to the year that we just wrapped up. I do pet portraits and people portraits. If you want one, let me know in the comments below. Let's talk. And just because I've been in Austin for so long, I started to really get into country music. It's just what happens. You just get it by osmosis. And this is Robert Ellis, one of my favorite country artists and also another musical mentor of mine. Taken a couple classes with him, which he'll offer from time to time on his website, but you really got to check out his music. He is one of the most talented, skilled musicians I've seen. And here's another portrait of a country musician that I greatly admire, Esther Rose. She's a great musician and you need to listen to her. And I hope to do more of these artist portraits in 2025 of my favorite musicians. So I'm going to try to start a series about that. And finally, it's Andrea again. I hope you can see my progress through the years. And what a long, twisty-turny journey it is to improve at any skill. If you take away anything from this, I hope it's getting better at anything is a lifelong journey and you have to have commitment. Earlier, I said I wanted to become a full-time painter. Well, that hasn't really happened yet. I actually had to go back to work and get a job several times since then. But I still keep at it, and every year I get a little bit better. And I hope you can see that. Mastery takes time. So if this video does well, maybe I'll do something like this, but for my musical journey, we'll see. Oh yeah, and I'll post links to all the names of the artists that I have listed in this video. But if you like that, like and subscribe. And as always, I'm going to be producing more content about art, painting, mastery, music, and also programming. Thanks for watching and have a happy new year.